Hi everyone, we're back. Now today we're going to do something a little bit different. You might have seen in previous videos, not episodes in this series, but there's another video we have online where I introduce you to some of my students, and I've got a couple of students, actually quite a few students, that want to be martial arts instructors. So today I have a couple of those students here, and I'm going to let them ask some questions. They're going to ask a couple of questions, and I'm going to answer them for you. So let's get started. What's the first question? You guys ask it, and then I'll repeat it so that they can hear it, so you don't need to yell.
How do you get students?
Okay, so question one, how do you get students? Seemingly a pretty simple question to ask, but there's a lot that goes into this. So what we're going to do today, actually, to answer this question, I'm just going to outline the fundamental processes that are at play, and then we'll come back and we'll look at each of them in detail in a future episode. Some of this we've hit on, though. In particular, some of the things that we talked about in the last episode are critical to understanding this. So let's go back to episode 1. The first episode, I laid out the fundamentals. We want to know how to get students. Well, so there's two phases, right? You want to get students enrolled. This is the side you're asking me about now. So how do you get students enrolled? Then, of course, we need to come back to this in a future episode and look at how do you have to keep students enrolled, because this is the fundamental business model. We have to get students, we have to keep students, and we're never going to keep all our students. We're dealing with a bucket that we're trying to fill up, but that bucket has a hole in it, and our job is to try to make that hole as small as possible. That's what this side is about. So we want to keep students enrolled. Okay, and that has its own subtleties to it as well. Some of this we hit on in the last episode. But here's where we are. How do you get students enrolled? Well, you have to get clear on two things. And this is great, actually. This is going to tie a lot of things together, because another thing that I had said in, I think, the second episode is you have to get really clear on where you are and where you want to go. And to get clear on where you are, if these are the two phases, well, how do you get students enrolled? You have to be good at marketing. So that's one thing to take an assessment of. How's your marketing? If you don't know how to market, start studying. Start doing research. Become a good marketer. So this is the first phase here. Okay? The second phase is really salesmanship. The first component is about creating some compelling message, understanding your core values, using those core values to put the appropriate messaging out there that connects with a specific audience that you attract into your facility. So here we're creating interest. We have a call to action which generates a response from those that are interested in our service. And then once we get them in our doors, we have to develop our skills as a salesman so that as we're showing students around and as we're introducing them to what we have to offer, our communication skills are at a high enough level that we can effectively communicate why what we have to offer is beneficial to our potential students. Okay, so this, I want to emphasize here, this is not, I know when people talk about sales, if you think about going to buy a car, for instance, that's a high-pressure environment. We don't like salesmen. I'm not talking about learning how to manipulate people when I'm discussing how you have to develop your salesmanship. I'm talking about getting clear on your communication so that all those values that you're putting out here, all the messaging you're putting out here, when somebody comes in your doors, you're able to effectively communicate those values to an even greater detail to create a connection, or at least start creating a connection with the potential students so that they see there's something there for them, something that they want to be a part of. So these are the two steps really that you got to get clear on in terms of getting students enrolled. And then there's, like I said, this is not a simple question to answer. Then you have to start looking at push and pull marketing and understand the two and understand how they work together. And you have to start looking at internal and external marketing. When you're starting out, everything's external. You're trying to draw people in. Once you start getting students, now you can start holding events, internal events that are marketing or promotional events to further build your student base. And so that's the answer that I'm going to leave you with for now. Okay, get clear on your marketing skills, get clear on your salesmanship, and if these are skills that you need to learn, certainly we'll come back and discuss them further in a future video, but do the research. Start studying, start developing those skills. There's plenty of resources out there. We have one other question, question 2.
How high should you hold your standards?
How high should you hold your standards? Okay, well, the interesting thing here, when I hear this question, I start to think, are we talking about our standards for ourselves? Are we talking about our standards for our students? And so if we're talking about our standards for our students, I think it starts by looking at what are the standards that we're going to hold ourselves accountable to. Because a lot of teachers, a lot of martial arts instructors, I think, set a higher standard for their students, a standard that maybe they don't live up to, and then that creates, as I talked about in the last episode, when our words and our actions are out of alignment. So if you're looking to better understand what are the standards you should hold your students accountable to, get clear on what do you really think you should be held accountable for? What are the actions that you should be taking in your training? And what's the standard that you should be living up to? I think that's a good place to start. And then use your experience and use your intuition. I know that we have a pretty high standard here. I know that we've only had 4 black belt tests in 12 years. And we're going to have our 7th person testing for black belt in August 19th. So we have a high standard. And without compromising on that standard, without giving away belts, which is a tactic that many people in business resort to. They think that they have to give away belts and give away rank to keep their students enrolled. Without compromising, we've been able to sustain. We've been able to maintain a high retention rate. And so where did that standard come from? Well, it came from my instructors, and it came from my experiences with other instructors, the experiences at seminars, seeing the standard that others were held to. And I'm sure there are people that hold a higher standard than me, and I know there are people that hold a lower standard than me. So start by looking within yourself. What's the standard that you want to hold yourself accountable to? And also turn to your experiences and trust your intuition as well in making that decision.